fact that Aroldis Chapman imploded in the ninth inning the way he did, or that Kevin Durant didn't touch the basketball for 4 crucial possessions down the stretch of that Nets-Bucks game, and they lose. But we have to actually add one more spectacular flameout, but that happened this morning, and that was to Mark Malusis' internet at his house in Stamford, Connecticut. So Moose is now on the phone, feverishly driving to his father's house in search of any kind of internet. Moose, where are you and how you feeling?
Yeah, I'm not great, Maggie. It was Maggie, I blame you because we talked about 9:30, and then right after we got off the phone, like, my internet went.
Oh, it's
and
definitely
there
my
was
fault.
nothing in the house. So I blame you. I don't know if it was sorcery or anything, but
sorcery. Well, that's definitely taking responsibility for yourself, Moose.
Yeah,
but,
no. I don't know what happened. I was working fine this morning. I was doing my stuff, and then all of a sudden, I went to go online. There was like no internet connection. The router failed. I talked to engineering, Bob Carl. He's like, "Yeah, there must be an outage in your area." I go, "Bob, what can I do?" He's like, "Really, nothing." I go, "Thanks, Bob. I appreciate that." And so then I'm feverishly packing up my car and calling my dad. My dad's not home. I'm like, "Dad, you got to be home in about a half hour because I'm flying. I got to be there. I've got no Wi-Fi in the house. I'm heading there." So my dad's on his way back to his house in Rockland. I called Hoffman. Hoffman called Chernoff. So everyone's in the know that needs to be in the know. Right now I'm flying down the Merritt, trying to head my way over to the Cuomo Bridge and over to beautiful Rockland County.
It can never be easy, my friend. It can never just
Happy
be easy.
Happy Friday, Maggie Gray. Happy Friday.
You know, the Casamigos might start flowing a little early today because we're up to a rocky start here. But, this actually did happen once before, Moose, during the pandemic when there was a crazy storm at your house. Remember, and you lost power, and then you had to fly to your dad's house too. So we should know how to execute this kind of fire drill by now.
That's right. That's when we had, I think Linda Cohn that day was our mystery guest. Was that day? So
one of our favorites.
Right, exactly right. So this has happened before. It happened, I think, last April or May was the last time this happened. I have no idea what's going on. I thought I was going to have to run to like the Verizon store to go get myself a new router. And Bob in engineering. Yeah, it's probably coming later. Bob in engineering said, "No, as long as it's lighting up, it's okay. You have no service. There must be an outage in the area." I got no memos. I got no text. I got nothing. I'll tell you this: when the bill comes, I'm getting texts all over the place. Pay your bill. When there's an outage in the area, I get nothing. I mean,
then you can't find anybody. Yeah, no, it only works one direction there. Well, Chicken Parm Lou has already said you can just go to his house in Stamford.
I should have. Maggie, at that time, I'm feverishly, like, minutes are clicking off. It's like 9:43. I'm calling Hoffman. Hoffman's like, "Man, that's bad. I don't know what to tell you. Let me get in touch with engineering." So, yeah, I guess I could have went local over to Chicken Parm Lou's. Should I turn around off the Merritt and head over to his place? I don't know.
He's telling me in the Slack channel that you can come over. I just think what's also hilarious about this entire episode this morning is that how many people did you call or knew about this before me? I'm the co-host of the show. You got engineering, you got Pete, you got Chernoff. I was like the 6th person who realized this was happening today.
No. Chernoff was after you, if we go down the list.
I got that.
So it was Hoffman was first. Then Hoffman told me Bob Carl was calling.
Okay.
I talked to Bob Carl. I'm trying to fix the situation so it's not an issue. Carl tells me you can't fix it. It's unfixable.
Yeah, you're screwed.
So it's going to continue to be an issue. You have no internet. We have no way of getting you up on the air. I'm like, okay, great. Then I called Hoffman again. I told him the news. Then I called my dad to let him know that I'm coming over. And then I think you were notified, Maggie.
Okay,
so
I'm fourth in line. That's good. I'll take that, actually. All right, so Moose is going to keep driving. Be safe, though. That's the most important thing, Moose. Be safe. Let us know when you're all set up, and we're going to take it from here. Pete Hoffman is in the studio. We're going to talk a little baseball right now, and we'll see you in a little bit, okay?
And make sure to have a couple tequila sunrises for me later, all right, Maggie?
I mean, we're going to be drinking tequila sunrise at like 2:01 today, for sure. But no, we got a great show for you. Okay, we'll talk to you in a little bit. Ricky Ricardo's going to join us as he always does on Fridays, and Pete's going to be back in the studio. We're hanging out with you. We're going to talk about everything 877-337-6666. But amidst the spectacular flameouts that just continue to unfold here in a variety of different ways, we're getting ready here for the summer of is he or isn't he? And what I mean by that is when we're watching Major League Baseball now, the question is going to be, is he using some type of substance or isn't he using some type of substance? And I'm talking about Aroldis Chapman from last night, because you got to admit, it crossed your mind if you're a Yankee fan, because it will read in the box score, second blown save of the season. But, man, that thing wasn't blown. That exploded. I mean, put sticks of dynamite around that and light the fuse, because he faced 4 batters, didn't record an out, gave up 4 runs off 2 bombs last night. And now with this increased speculation about what pitchers may or may not be using, I mean, nobody's going to be able to escape the scrutiny of a bad outing. So, let's look at the facts, though. Chapman's velocity was down. That actually has not been linked to using this type of spider tack or sticky stuff, but it was alarming nonetheless. When you have a guy who you're used to seeing throw 100, 101, is now throwing 95, 96, yeah, that's going to raise some eyebrows, but the spin rate was also down on his slider, almost 200 RPM. So, does the glare now move from Cole to Chapman? I mean, what if, heaven forbid, you have 2 bad outings in a row if you're a star pitcher in this league? This is turning into, and going to turn into, a no-win situation, especially for the Stars. Because normally, you are allowed to be a human being. We might not like it, but you are allowed to have a bad game here or there. Chapman has been one of the best relievers, the best closer, and having one of the best seasons that he's had this year. But now, everyone has to feel like they're under some kind of microscope. You can't just have a bad game right now. If you are, you're just unlucky, because the eyes of the world are on you to see whether or not there was something that you were using to either get a grip on the ball or get more spin on whatever pitch, you're trying to use. And it's like this can of worms just got opened up, and I don't know how it's going to get back, into normal. I don't know how we're going to continue through this baseball season, even once Major League Baseball comes down with maybe some more, stricter guidelines, or they try to, refine the rule book a little bit, or try to enforce, guys not using spider tack. But to be honest, any time a pitcher is going to have a down outing, it's going to cross your mind. And in some ways, I just think that it's unfortunate, because that is just so unfair, I think, to a lot of pitchers. Because like a lot of scandals, this one actually has a lot of gray area. And I think the gray area, and what I've heard from a lot of people in the game over the last 3 days since the scandal really started to bubble up, what you're hearing is they differentiate in their mind. What you do to get a grip on the ball, nobody cares. Everyone turns a blind eye to that, whether it's the pine tar, whether it's rosin and sunscreen, whatever. It's the extra stuff. Boone was on with Carton and Roberts yesterday. He called it turbo stuff, the turbo stuff. It's that Josh Donaldson said is the performance enhancer. But if you're a pitcher right now in Major League Baseball, can you use anything right now? I mean, the microscope is so on these pitchers. And I'm thinking about Jacob deGrom tonight. Jacob deGrom, who's had this, honestly, one of the best pitching seasons so far that we've seen in the history of the Mets franchise. And, think about what you're saying there. Jacob deGrom, who nobody believes is using any turbo stuff, nobody believes is using any kind of spider tack, nobody is saying that he's, and you don't even have evidence, his average, velocity and spin rate have been, growing together as he's gone through the league at an average rate. So there's no smoking gun here that we can turn to. But say Jacob deGrom actually does use a little pine tar. Say he does use a little rosin and sunscreen. Say he does use anything, that most people in baseball say not only do they not care, but a lot of pitchers will say, please use that so I don't get hit with a 99-mile-an-hour fastball to the face. Can he even use any little stuff in his outing tonight? Say Jacob deGrom gives up a couple hits tonight, gives up a couple runs. Are we now going to be looking at him differently? That's so unfair. And there could be 100 different reasons why Jacob deGrom might give up a couple runs tonight. Maybe because he just faced the Padres a week ago, mowed them down. But they have a little bit more of a scouting report on him now. That could be a factor. 25 other things could be a factor. But is it not going to cross everyone's mind? Is it not going to put a shadow on some things that we're seeing this year? I'm all for cleaning up this problem. I'm all for cleaning up the spider tack, the turbo stuff, whatever it is. But while we're here in this gray area, it is going to be so I would say unfair. It's going to be so difficult for star pitchers if they happen to have a bad outing like Aroldis Chapman did last night to escape any kind of scrutiny. Now, Pete Hoffman is back in the studio. Pete, diehard Mets fan. Jacob deGrom can do absolutely no wrong in his eyes, and mine too, because I'm also a Mets fan. But Pete, do you hear what I'm saying about how unfair this could be now because we are in this gray area? And tell me it didn't cross your mind with Chapman last night, even for a fleeting second.
It's going to cross your mind with everything, every pitcher that's out there. But the thing is, the fact that like Trevor Bauer came on our airwaves a couple of years ago and said not 70% of the pitchers were using something. Judge was saying 95% of the pitchers out there are using something. So I don't want to jump to conclusions every single time, but you're right. It is a bad time to have a bad outing, and I guarantee you some of these pitchers are out there, if they're struggling as it is and they're doing a bullpen session and they are not having a good session to begin with, and then they get on the mound and they're off, that's in the back of their head, and now they're going, okay, this is going to be speculation. Chapman might have been thinking over in the back of his head, everyone's going to be looking at this right now and saying that I'm using something, and I'm not. You know, right. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, if I got accused of something, I used to start sweating like I didn't do anything. I didn't, and how do you prove it? Well, that was not a good. That wasn't a good statement by Chapman yesterday.
He said after the game, he said, "I understand the question, but I don't use anything." You know, Aaron Boone on with the guys yesterday says that he doesn't think anyone on his staff is using the turbo stuff. It's just where we are with the scandal. It's where we are with the scandal, and I just hope that it doesn't end up taking over for something and things that we're watching that actually should be celebrated in the game. Like Jacob deGrom. I mean, honestly, what's a bad night for Jacob deGrom anyway? If he gives up more than one run, which is like, it's superhuman to begin with, but I don't want this to take away or guys to be unfairly put in a box of, hey, you are trying to get more spin on the ball when maybe you are just trying to get better grip. And you know what? Everyone's been okay with that. We've all been fine with it. We've all winked and nudged and nods and like, hey, turn the other way. And we never cared about that. But now we do because of what's going on in baseball. Now we care about that more than anything. And I don't know how the fans are reacting to it. I don't know if this is killing your buzz, so to speak. You know, is this just killing the enjoyment of the game if you can't sit there and wonder whether or not a pitcher is trying to get an unfair advantage? It's right in your face now. You can't escape it.
Well, it's funny that deGrom, you know, his teammates went out the other day and basically backed up. They came out to his defense. Like, deGrom didn't even need to say anything. Everyone else came out for him. Is that worse that they immediately went out there and said, hey, deGrom doesn't use anything at all to protect him because they know he's never going to go out there and protect himself, or he's not going to be as outspoken as some of these other players.
Yeah, I thought it at the time. It started with Tomas Nido, who's great on Twitter, by the way, and then the rest of the team kind of came to his defense. It was Stroman, his Walker, all these other guys, basically saying if deGrom was using anything, like, you think he's unhittable now?
Yeah,
you wouldn't even see the ball. You know, it'd be like it'd be insane, and so. Yeah, they came to his defense. In some ways, I appreciated what they did, but it did bring some attention to it when it was just it was a video that now has become viral where Jacob deGrom goes to the belt. And so, listen, whether it's just some pine tar, whether it's nothing, or whether it's just some pine tar or something that we've all been okay with, you don't think deGrom's feeling a little bit of scrutiny tonight? Just a little?
The one thing I would say about deGrom, though, everything he does is almost perfect. Whether it's at the plate, when he's batting, when he's fielding the ball. So if someone wants to sit there and say, oh, you know, deGrom gave up 3 runs today. Well, that doesn't happen ever this year. He gave up 3 runs. Did he not use spider tack today? I'll tell you that deGrom is meticulous. He's excellent at everything he does. And I'm not shocked that he's this good at everything, whether it's hitting, fielding, or pitching.
Right.
So I think that I don't believe that deGrom is involved in that, and it's okay. And even if he does have pine tar, so be it. I told you off air, I was like, if he's got a sensor chip in the baseball that he throws that he can move it last minute before they hit the ball, I'm okay with that too.
Yes, we know where you stand.
Yes,
president of the deGrom fan club, get in line. But it's just, you know, and you could say, listen, you know, check out the timeline here. So when this scandal really started to heat up was obviously Josh Donaldson calling out Garrett Cole, but it was also the 4 minor leaguers who were suspended because they were using some kind of substance. That was like we've kind of known that baseball was taking this a lot more seriously and collecting data and all that, but this was like really when, oh my gosh, all right, minor leaguers are getting suspended. That's the first sort of flare that they sent to the major leaguers. And since then, so that was June 2nd, that was last Wednesday. DeGrom obviously pitched Saturday night, so that was after that happened. And he was brilliant. I mean, the Padres didn't stand a chance. And he turned around that series after they had lost the first 2 games. They ended up splitting, and it was fantastic for the Mets. So you could say, well, if they were trying to send a message, obviously nothing changed from his last outing. But I would argue this, again, I don't think DeGrom's using Spider Tack. Nobody thinks he's using Spider Tack. But even if you're using anything right now, it's rosin and sunscreen, you're under the microscope. The heat around this has definitely increased. I'm talking about this whole scandal since Saturday. Definitely since Saturday. So is it a little bit different in this outing? I mean, if the guy can't even put some rosin and sunscreen, stuff that we've been okay with for so long, little pine tar, we've been okay with this. We've all acknowledged that we're okay with this. Nobody cares. But is it going to be even more scrutiny, even more speculation? Because everyone's looking for a villain here. The villain's really Major League Baseball, but we're really looking for a villain here, and we're looking for a face of this. It was Garrett Cole, but he came out, had a very solid outing. He quieted the noise around him. Chapman last night, bad, every way you could put it, bad. And then you start thinking about Chapman. Who's going to be the next guy? Man, what a mess this is for Major League Baseball.